All right, so we know you were born an Amboy, right?
Yeah.
Correct? And you gave me your birth date, so 7/28/1927.
Correct.
All right. And who were your parents? What did they do? What did
Well,
your
my
dad
mother,
do?
my mother was just a housekeeper.
Okay.
She had 4 kids to look after, including me. And my stepdad was what they call him, an operating engineer. He ran all types of construction equipment, bulldozers and shovels and all that stuff.
Okay, so you said you were one of 4 siblings, is that right?
That's correct.
All right, and names? Are you the eldest or in the middle?
I am, let's see, I had an older sister, then myself, then a younger sister, then a younger brother.
Okay, and what were all the names?
Oh, my older sister was named Loretta. The
Uh-huh.
Carolyn and Kenneth.
Okay. Did any of them go in the military? Were any of them in the military?
Younger brother went into the army. I think that was, well, it was well after the war. It was some kind of, I think it was a kind of a draft type thing.
Mm. Mm.
The,
So-
the government
Oh.
grabbed these guys and put him, I think he was put in for, I thought 1 term. He might have been in for 3 years, I don't know.
Mm. So what were you doing at the time that you went into the military?
What's that?
What were you doing at the time that you went into the military?
What was I doing?
Yes. How old were you?
Oh, I think I was 16. I had to get my mother to sign it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh. So you would have been still in school?
Yeah, I left high school.
All right. And you went into the Navy?
Yeah.
All right. And you said you were enlisted, that you were enlisted in there?
But I was enlisted.
Yes, you did. And what, did you choose a specific branch? Did you choose that? That was your choice?
Other than the Navy.
Yeah.
No, I was somehow, see, I was crazy about airplanes. And I built all kinds of models, and I knew everything about an airplane except how to fly it. So maybe I filled out some papers and they put me on an aircraft carrier. But I had nothing to do with the air division. I was in the engineering side of the Navy.
So what happened when you departed for training camp?
What's that?
What happened when you departed for training camp? What were your early days of training like?
I didn't understand.
Oh, what were your early, when you first enlisted, did you go to training camp at all?
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay, so what do you remember about that time? What happened then? You were 16,
Main thing,
17?
I was sent to Great Lakes Naval Training Center, which was one of the largest naval training centers in the United States. I think there was probably Norfolk, Virginia, and San Diego, California, with a couple of the others. But the only thing I can really remember about boot camp, that's what we called it, was, this is funny, they taught us to march and all that usual stuff. And of course we had a series of shots. And it was a real production line way of doing that. My whole company, a couple of hundred people, would go into this big, like a gymnasium, and we'd take our shirts off and pull up the sleeve of our t-shirts and walk down the line. And as we'd walk down the line, a guy would stick a needle in our arm. No syringe, just a needle. By the time we got to the end of the line, we might have had 4 or 5 needles sticking in. And we started through another line where the guys had the syringes. And the first guy would take it, select his needle, stick the syringe on it, give us a shot, pull out. So that's the way we worked our way to the end of the line. By the time we got to the end of the line, the last needle was gone. So we'd had maybe, I can't remember, 4 or 5 injections. Well, we didn't go back a second time. It was just production line stuff. The war was on and they had to go quick, you know.
Yeah. Do you recall any of your instructors?
Pardon?
Do you recall any of your instructors?
Oh yeah. The very first guy I had, his name was Nelson Beebe. B-E-E-B-E. And after I left boot camp and had been assigned to a ship and we had done service overseas, we came back to San Diego and I went on Liberty, and on the streets of San Diego, guess who I ran into? Nelson Beebe. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
He was then transferred from training division at Great Lakes, and I don't know what he was doing in California. Probably assigned to some, well, that was a big training center, so he might have been there. I don't know.
Mm.
But
So, yeah.
I met him on the street and said hello.
You did. Did you have any specialized training for what you're going in? Did you in particular have any specialized training?
Yeah. I was at, oh gosh, a place up in the state of Washington. There was a shipyard there. And we went there for pre-commissioning training for the ship that we were going to be assigned to. And the only thing I remember about that place is just outside the gates was cruiser Pittsburgh. It had been pretty badly shot up out in the Pacific. they brought it back there for repair. Can't remember that. I should know that. Ah,
Hmm. So how did you adapt to military life, to living in the barracks? I mean, you were basically a kid, so
oh, I thought it was fun.
loved it. Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't have any problems.
Not the food or the social life or the
Pardon?
the food was okay.
Oh, yeah, sure. Actually, all the time I was in the Navy, the food was excellent. Well, of course, the Navy trained their own cooks. And, yeah, it was good.
All right. So you went to serve where? Where did you go after that? Where did you actually serve?
Where?
Yes.
In the Pacific Ocean.
Okay.
We went, like I said, I was over around Guam, Okinawa.
Mm.
We went to Japan. At the end of the war, we were still floating around out there. And we went to Japan a couple of times. We had to, at the end of the war, we came back to the West Coast, got rid of all our airplanes. We had torpedo bombers, we had fighters, Hellcats, and Corsairs. Got rid of those, and we went over to Japan and Guam. I think it was Guam, Okinawa. And we brought back a whole shipload of P-51 Mustangs, which were Army. They were part of the force that was over there. When the war was over, they picked them up and brought them back to the States. The P-51 was still an active aircraft in the Air Force. And so were all of our Navy planes. Like I said, we had torpedo bombers and fighters.
So what action did you see?
What did I see?
What action? Did you see any conflict or action?
Saturday night.
I think you're pulling my leg there. No dog fights or
Yeah. Oh. Yeah.
What was Japan like?
oh yeah. So you went to Okinawa and you went back to Japan. So what was Japan like in the times that you saw it?
Ooh. Well, we went to Japan right after when the war was. Well, we were there a week after they signed the surrender. And Japan was blown to hell. It was. I went ashore one day with some sailors who had something to do with mail. And if you saw, you hardly any people around. If you saw a Jap down the road, 2 blocks away, by the time you got there, he was gone. They were scared to hell. They had been told that when we came to Japan, that all we would do is kill everybody. So they stayed the hell away from us. That sort of eased up with experience, because when we went back to Japan, maybe 2 weeks later or a month later, I can't remember, Japanese people were running around as you would expect. They weren't afraid of us by then, because they must have found out that we weren't there to kill anybody. Yeah.
What's it like on the islands?
Yeah, so how was that different out on the islands where you were, out in Guam?
What was that?
Okinawa, was it different? How were the people reacting to you
Okinawa,
in Okinawa?
I don't know, because I never went ashore in Okinawa. We pulled into Okinawa to a place called Buckner Bay. And we stayed there for, I can't remember, a matter of, maybe a week. Why the hell did we go there? Can't remember.
Is that where you picked up the B-52s?
What's that?
Where did you pick up the B-52s? Is that where you picked them up from? From Okinawa?
Airplanes.
You said you loaded the boat up again with B-52s.
Oh, P-50.
B-52, sorry.
P-51.
B-51.
B-51s.
Mustangs.
The Mustangs, okay.
I don't, we might have had Mustangs, I don't know.
Was there a lot of wreckage around, naval wreckage?
Was there a lot of wreckage around?
Oh, in Japan.
Yes.
And
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And Okinawa too.
And Guam.
And Guam. What did you see? So visually, what did the land look like
Or the
after the
ocean.
war, the ocean?
In Japan, it looked like devastation.
Buildings were leveled and
They had been bombed right out of it. Well, the B-29s, the Army Air Force had been flying out of Okinawa and bombing Japan for a long time. They flattened everything. There were a couple of oh yeah, that's right, there was one big building in the middle of all this wreckage, devastation, that was still pretty much intact. And I remember, I don't think it was the first time, but maybe later on when I went back to Japan, military had taken over that. It turned out it was a hotel. The military had taken that over as a recreation spot for U.S. military.
Mentioned shipwreckage around Guam and Okinawa. Shipwreckage.
okay. Did you see signs of shipwreckage around Guam and Okinawa? Did you see
Oh yeah,
they had been sunken or blown up or?
yeah, well, you'd see something sticking up out of the water that belonged to. See, that was, all the anchorages were in shallow water, so the stuff couldn't sink all that far. So, you might see a mast sticking up in there, or part of a landing craft, that sort of thing.
Lots of it? A lot of it?
I can't,
Yeah.
it was enough. I didn't get to see a lot of stuff because whenever we were maneuvering,
Mm-hmm.
like leaving port or going into port, I was generally down below decks on watch over generators, steering engine room. So the only time I got to see anything was when we had anchored and I could go topside.
Okay, because you were a fireman, right?
Yeah,
All right. Were there any times that you had to put out fires on your ship, or?
fireman meant that you were somewhere in the engineering side of the ship's operations. A fireman could be, well, he was an apprentice to boilermakers, electricians, areas like that. More the engineering as apart from the sailing of the ship. So I was a fireman assigned to the electrical division. And of course, the whole ship operated on electrics. So I had watches in the engine room on the generators and the steering engine room, which is all electrically operated. We had two steering engines on that aircraft carrier, a port and a starboard unit, and each one had an electric motor driving a hydraulic system which operated the rudder. And I had, like I say, watches on generators and watches on
So,
steering engine.
where were you when the war ended?
When the war ended,
Yes, where were you?
I was out at sea somewhere.
It's a big celebration aboard.
What's that?
Yeah, how did you hear about it? How did they tell you about it? And was there a big party, celebration? Nothing?
Yeah, we heard about it,
Okay.
and I don't remember any wild celebration, but few people, I suppose, jumping up and down, happy, going home.
Yes, so how soon did you start going home? How much?
I didn't get to go home very early because I was hoping I would get home, but I didn't get home until it was July of 1946, because the Navy said that they were sending people home who had a long time service. In other words, the ones that were in there the longest got to go home first. Well, I hadn't been there all that long, so the Navy claimed, they say, they didn't have a sufficient number of people to take the place of
Mhm.
the newcomers. So I had to stay. They told me they had no replacements. So I didn't get to go home until I think it was July of '46.
Right. So did you come home with the ship?
No, I left the ship at Guam. And we lived in, oh, I forget what you call them.
The Quonset huts?
Huh?
The Quonset huts?
Well, it was something like that, yeah.
Is that on Guam?
Pardon?
Is that on Guam?
And you-
On Guam. You were living in Guam?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, they put you ashore there.
yeah.
How was it like there?
How was it like? What was that like? And how long were you there for?
Oh, I was in Guam, I guess, for maybe 2, 3, 4, several weeks.
Mhm.
And we lived in a Quonset hut. And there were still Japs on the island. I remember one day, we all used to go down to the main processing area. And if you were scheduled to catch a ship, your name would be up on a list they had there, on a bulletin board. And I went down there one day and the place was in a hell of an uproar. And during the night, these Japs had come in out of the jungle and they stole a Jeep and a 37 millimeter gun mounted on wheels.
Mhm.
Took it away. And a Marine officer and his driver in the morning, when they found out about what had happened, they got in another Jeep and they went tearing down the road. And the Japs had set this gun up on a corner. And the story was that when the Marine and his driver got slowed down to go around the corner, the Japs hit him with a shell from this 37 millimeter and it killed both of them. So I know I had planned to go and live in a shot out ambulance off the base because every day they come out and grab a whole bunch of us, make us go and do some work somewhere. I didn't like that, so I had my eye on living out in the bush in this wrecked ambulance. And I heard about the Marine driver and a 37 millimeter gun. I changed my mind.
Good thinking.
Yeah.
So you came back to the States, and how was that for you coming back? Being back here, were you with family, friends?
Oh, no, I came back to the States on a troop ship. We were packed in that troop ship like that. Funny thing there. Got on that troop ship at Guam. And not long after the ship left Guam, heading back to the States, there was a crap game started way back in the rear end of the ship, back around the fantail. And that crap game went on virtually all the way across back to the West Coast. And one guy, a little Italian fellow, New York, Brooklyn, somewhere like that, he wound up as the winner. I went back to watch it one day, and there was a pile of American dollars, $10, $5, whatever. There's a pile of it, about 3 feet high. They were shooting dice for this. The little guy who won it all had grabbed a couple of sea bags. And when he left the ship, he left with a couple of sea bags chock full of money. Yeah. I went back to San Francisco. I stayed there for a couple of days. And then I got on a train, took me back to Great Lakes. And that's where they started the discharge procedure.
Mhm. So then what did you do after that, after you separated from the military? What did you do?
I laid around for about 3 months, drinking and raising hell. And then some friends of mine who had not been in the service were employed in a steel mill. They got me a job in the steel mill, so I went to work. I worked there for, oh gosh, we were working 7 days a week, no, 6 days a week, 12 hours a day. And that, of course, was optional. You could do that or you didn't have to. But of course, I wanted to earn the money, so I worked 12 hours a day. I worked there for, I think, maybe a little over a year. Then I went to undergraduate division of the University of Illinois. Yeah.
GI Bill. So how did your wartime experiences affect your life?
What was that?
How did your wartime experiences affect your life? You came out with the GI Bill and went to college.
Oh, I think I wasn't upset about anything. Yeah, I was only, what, 19? I was too young to know anything very different. No, I was okay. I suppose I think probably I was more mature when I came home than friends of mine who had not been in the service. We grew up a little bit more, you know. So I didn't have any problems.
So what message would you like to leave for future generations?
What's that?
What message would you like to leave for future generations who will see this interview at some point?
Gosh. Well, I think a bit of military life would stop a lot of the nonsense that the young people do today. I think it would get rid of that crazy feeling they have.
So is there anything else that you'd like to add to this? Any other memories or any things that come to mind?
I lost my girlfriend.
Oh dear.
Right?
Oh dear. How did that happen?
Oh, I guess she got tired of waiting for me.
During service.
Ah. I think that was probably the worst thing that happened. I thought
That was during the war that you lost her?
she,
During service?
well, it's crazy to say that, but I never ever forgot her, you know.